we used the romance structure for The Circus Comes to Town. So Joanna and Katie each have their own scenes before they meet. Joanna arrives at the amphitheater and immediately starts judging Katie based on what other pop singers and stuff do. So that's her scene by herself, so we get to know Joanna, know about Joanna, and then we get to know about Katie and her scene where she's signing autographs, getting dressed, and putting on makeup, which we find out later that she doesn't want to do. And then when they meet for the first time in the interview, Katie kind of shoved Joanna's stuff back in her face, and that's the turning point. Yeah, okay, and then they have their own scenes. That was the first time they meet, and they break off, and they learn from one another. And then Joanna has her own scene, and Katie has her own scene, and Joanna, they both start to realize that what they learn from each other, which is Joanna starts to change her story and the way she thinks about pop singers, and Katie listens to what Joanna had to say, which is, you shouldn't be such a tramp. And then they figuratively meet again, but when they both, when Katie puts on the t-shirt to cover up her dress, and Joanna buys a t-shirt and starts to change her story around. So, like a romance story.
Okay, my name is Erin Davern, and for our second script we had the Watchtower, and for the structure that we chose, we're going to call two-line conjoining, where you have like the caret and then the line. That is mostly used by crime and sports stories. This story is a crime story. If this were the traditional three-act arch, our inciting incident would have been Pat and William escaping from prison. Our escalating events would have been finding the dead animals, the ringmaster shooting at them, and then falling down the hill together. Our turning point was Pat being shot. Then more escalating events were they find the Watchtower, William realizes Pat was shot, and then the climax was that in the Watchtower, William realizes that there's no hope, there's nowhere to go, and Pat's not going to make it. There isn't much of a conclusion because it ends very suddenly, because what we think happens is that William is about to be shot by the ringmaster as well, so they kind of both die at the end. So putting that arc into the two-line conjoining structure, you have the turning point, which is Pat being shot, which is kind of the first where the ringmaster and Pat and William come together, because those are the two people on the carrots. It's two entities on the carrots. Pat and William are on one, and then the ringmaster, and they come together and they're fighting, and then everything else kind of happens along that single line.
For our first story, we had Circus Comes to Town, and what we did with this one, we decided the type of story that one was a drama as opposed to comedy, because it was more serious, it wasn't really that funny, and well, it might have been poor writing, but it wasn't meant to be funny. No, it's more of a drama. And now when we're getting down the whole food chain of species, the genre that it is, the genre is romance. Now you may think, this isn't romance, they didn't fall in love, but you can have romance without love, and that's what this is, because it's about the two people coming together and learning about one another, and the story scripture of this chart, that's how it's framed, and that's how it works too. So the subgenre is bromance, and the bromance aspect of it is because they don't really love each other. Well, they do love each other, but not like romantic love of each other. But they learning from one another by friendship, and that friendship comes together, and then they learn to see each other through each other's eyes, and it's great. It's real good. And the pathway that they did this through is the point of view singular, because we always see it through Joanna's point of view. That's how the story's told, is through her point of view. So that's the pathway, is the point of view singular. Okay, you ready? You gotta hook up your britches, because we're on to number 2 this time. This one is called The Watchtower. So the type is drama, because it's more serious, and it's basically the same reason. It's a drama story, and the genre is crime, because they're trying to escape, and it's about two people competing, kind of, and like the guards and the circus master are trying to get them, and the other two are gonna escape and get away. Spoiler. But the subgenre of this is escape, because they're escaping through the prison. It's not a real prison though, it's just a circus tent, but it's kind of like a prison a little bit. And that's the subgenre is escape. And then the pathway that we told the story through is chase. And those are the 4 that were written down, and I explained them all. I hope you have a wonderful day. I love you.
Hello, Eric. So, for question 3, we discussed the similarities and differences between the two scripts. There is a connection between certain genres that fit certain story structures better. For example, our romance story, The Circus Comes to Town, fits the diamond structure, as do most romance films because of the nature of the genre. Our second script, The Watchtower, is a crime story and would be terrible with the diamond structure if the prisoners, William and Pat, kept coming together and breaking apart with the ringmaster. Most crime stories fit the two-line conjoining structure. So then the second question we got asked is, can you think of any feature films that use the same combination of genre and story structure? We've thought that Toy Story 3 would be a great example of a crime story using the two-line conjoining structure. It's a good thing because even though this is an expected structure, the structure does not diminish the story. Toy Story 3 is a great story, and The Watchtower and Toy Story 3 are very different stories. The structure is just how it is organized. Since most romance films use the diamond structure, we wanted to name the bromance romance like ours is. We thought of Bridesmaids. Though the type is comedy, the genre is a romance, and the subgenre is bromance and uses the diamond structure. Annie and Lillian are the Joanne and Katie. And yeah, that's question 3.
In our group, we have 3 good recommendations for the script. The first one is for the first script. The circus come to the town. We feel like there should be more of actual meeting with Katie and Johanna at the end. For example, they could both get their t-shirt at the same time and bring them together again. And the second recommendation is the second script is the Watchtower. There need to be a more defining turning point. All the events seem to be escalating events that lead up to the climax. So there is nothing was really a game changer. So the third one is even though we argue that The Circus Come to the Town is a romance by genre, it's not very strong, though the subgenre is definitely a bromance. So the genre elements need to be the strongest need. Yeah, that's our 3 recommendations.